snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son. We're burning daylight.
Howdy there. I'm Matt McKinley, and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy.
I agree.
Yeah, it's all right. We got people watching now. Shit, yeah. So I'm here with Ty Self. He's out of West Texas. What'd you say, about an hour and a half out of San Angelo?
Yes, sir. West of there, San Angelo.
Right on. So you're that's oil country and ranch country, basically, ain't it?
For sure. Yes, sir. Not much else.
Yeah, it's it's a lot like Eastern Colorado, where it's just not much there.
Right.
You guys got the oil. We didn't even get the oil. We just got the nothing.
Well, I wish I could send some oil up there.
Well, I don't know what good it would do now. We can't drill. We can't. We got to buy all of our shit from Russia, but we're pissed off at Russia, and we're really shaking our fists at them while we're buying oil from them every day.
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
That's kind of that. Yeah, that's hard to take right there.
It's man, that whole scenario is fucked, and like I could be the anti-war guy like I typically am, but let's face it, we're going to war anyways. So like I could just say like, hey, this is probably a bad idea. Hey, I don't know if you guys remember, but Russia has a lot of nukes.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of nukes.
They drink a lot. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. But yeah. Anyway, so we'll just act like nuclear war is not upon us and just have a good old time, or act like it's about to be upon us. We'll just have a good old time. So, yeah, it's been a wild start to the year. We just started the third month, and I think we've all aged about 10 years. Just the first 2 months of 2022. Yep. Holy shit, man. It's a crazy little world. But so you grew up around Throckmorton. We were just talking about I asked you about the 1883 because part of that, like the early part of that show, kind of runs right through that Throckmorton area, kind of in the
yes, sir.
Right along the initial like Texas cattle trails where Charlie Goodnight roamed back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now at R.A. Brown, that's that ranch there is there out of Throckmorton, and they're they're not quite on the same level as the Sixes, but they're in that same kind of conversation, aren't they? As far as well known.
They are, I would say they are just as well known as the Sixes. I think they're very well known in their seed stock program with the bulls and all their stuff.
Yeah, they're more on the cattle side of things. They're a little more well known than
they have phenomenal horses. Some really great horse flesh out there. Lanham, he's been showing quite a bit and doing really good with them. I think they're out there. I think it's just kind of maybe a different group of people.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see where the Sixes go with Hollywood taking over.
Yeah, I know some boys that work out there, and they don't think it'll change much, but you never know.
That's kind of exactly what Boots has been saying. He said, well, I don't know. They say it's not going to change much, and he's like, I don't know. Yeah. He just goes and does his job. So
yeah, that's all they do. Just wake up and get after it.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it'd be interesting. I hope they churn out some good stuff out there though. Like that 1883 show is freaking excellent. I guess that's the end of the first season, that last one.
And then I saw the other day where there's not going to be any more. I don't know how true that is.
Oh,
but
well, that
I don't know.
Sucks.
Facebook never lies. If it's on the internet, it's true.
Yeah, that's right. That it is. That is 100%
The books.
factual.
Yeah.
And well, unless Facebook fact checks it or something. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess they have that show The Six is coming out, and Jimmy is the face of it. That like
Yeah.
it's not a good start.
Well,
Like, do they kill him off the first episode?
I don't know. You know what they should have done, and this is going to go back to one of your other podcasts, but they should have got Dakota and him in there together,
Yeah.
and they'd have really screwed some shit up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it might be a good. I mean, it'll probably be a good show. It's just hard to take that Jimmy guy seriously. Like,
I think it'll be a good show for a certain audience. I think the cowboy, short enough cowpuncher type of audience give it crap, just like they do everything else, which I'm part of it. I mean, I watch it because it's funny to watch.
yeah, exactly. Well, there's always certain things that it didn't ruin Yellowstone for me, but it would have made the show so much better if they would have taken the time on a couple little details.
Well, the very first episode, they jumped the fence to pull a calf, and the calf jumps up running off, and everybody
Yeah.
I know is, I'm not watching this anymore. I'm like, it's a show, I get it, but at the same time, like, you could have left it there for a minute.
Yeah, you could like I said, just a little bit of details, and I'm sure everybody outside the cattle business didn't notice that at all. But
Right.
it's like the Hurt Locker won a fucking Oscar, and if you talk to anybody who served over in Iraq or Afghanistan, they'll tell you how much bullshit the Hurt Locker is as a movie. So I'm sure.
Right.
It's Hollywood. I mean, that's what they do. It's literally their job to make it exciting. So,
For sure.
it was funny. It was actually really cool, kind of getting a firsthand account behind like a modern day Western movie set or TV set. Listening to Buster talk about that because I don't know. I don't think anybody outside of that business realizes what like the amount of shit that has to go into making that show. I mean, it is like Boots was talking. They had like 400 or 500 people on set down there. It's like, holy shit, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to have somebody to wrangle the horses, to wrangle the people, to wrangle the cattle from it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, you got all the costumes and the makeup and yeah. It was I liked seeing I mean I guess just like the how real everything looked in 1883 was pretty impressive. Like just about everybody there could dang sure ride for the most part. I didn't see too many people flopping like a bag of potatoes up there.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of ass to cattle fights in that show.
No,
but
no, there was. I mean, there wasn't anybody that just really stuck out that as like a great horseman, but nobody looked out of place on a horse.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, how old a guy are you?
I will be 26 in about 4 days.
Oh shit! Happy birthday!
Thank you.
And you grew up down at Throckmorton. What was that? What was it like growing up down in that area?
Oh, it was fun. There wasn't a whole lot to do other than ride and rope. Have work. That's about it. But it was fun, and I'd
go to church on Sunday. That's Bible Belt. So
yeah, for sure. No, it was good. I can't say that it ever did me wrong. I probably did more wrong than it ever did me.
Yeah. Big football country over there.
Yeah. We won state multiple years. We played 6-man.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, we were 11-man until I don't know. People that I know are going to listen to this know I'm quoting the wrong years, but I'm going to say probably 2003 or 4, we were 11 man. Then we swapped over to 6 man and did all that. And I think in 05, we won state from 05, 06, 07, maybe 08. Every year we won state.
Wow.
And
You went from 11 all the way down to 6. Like,
yeah. Yeah, we have. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Did they not have 8-man football?
They have some in Oklahoma. And as far as I know, Oklahoma is the only one that I've ever seen that has anything to do with that.
Okay, see, we had it in Colorado. We played 8-man.
Yeah.
I think they play 6 now, but
yeah, we never went from that. I don't. For all I know is Oklahoma's the only place I know of ever played 8-man. But we went from 11 to 6, and we were pretty good at that. Which I was still fairly young in them days, and then we got up to whenever I got up into junior high and early of high school, we were still very good. And we won state there 2 or 3 years in a row again from like 11 to or 9, 10, and 11 or something like that. I can't really remember. I played football up until my freshman year, and throughout this podcast, you'll figure out why I didn't play the rest of the year because I might have left school.
Oh, no shit.
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah. That's all right. I was just gonna say though, 6-man football seems like that's about like sandlot football, but with pads.
You know, I used to get in some fairly decent arguments with some uncles and just other kids. You know, 11-man has hard hits. I'm not going to say they don't, but in 6-man football, you have 80 yards to play, and you have 12 men on the field, and there is some wide open collisions. And I'm not talking just 10 foot.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I have no doubt that it's physical, but it seems like it's more of it because it's just you said it's a small field. There's less people, so it's more like it's more like a one-on-one type game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so it's very much like a playground rules almost, where you just
I agree. It's every man for himself.
There's not much of a pocket, you know. Even if your line is really good, there's still not much of a pocket for the quarterback because it's just such a yeah. So you left school at 16?
Oh yeah. My freshman year, I pulled out and I did a homeschool deal and I went to work. Yeah.
Just ranching or what?
No, I was day working. I moved over and round into Abilene, and I went to day working around, and I went to working in an oil field shop at night, rebuilding tongs and backups or overhauling motors and whatever needed to be done on a rig. And,
right on. So you learned to weld pretty good then, huh?
Yeah, I can weld pretty decent. I don't tell a lot of people that just because I like to weld, but I don't like to weld.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's mechanic. The same thing with a mechanic or a farrier,
for sure.
Or somebody that knows how to break colts and shit.
Yep.
Yeah. So did you go back and get a GED, or did you just?
Yeah. No. I did a full homeschool deal. I have.
Right. You said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a homeschool diploma and all that stuff. I went through and got everything I needed, but that's as far as I went with that, and I've been rolling on.
You know, I think once you get that bill from college, people realize how just how unnecessary a lot of the education process.
I can't remember what year it was, but I had a Spanish teacher one year tell me, well, I was having some bad grades and I was wanting to drop out and do this and do that. This was her words. She said, you know, if you leave this school, you'll never amount to anything. Well, I make more yearly than a teacher does doing what I do. So she was definitely wrong.
Huh.
But I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I said, I dealt a bad hand on myself. It was nobody's fault but myself, and I regret some of it, but not a lot. I live life and go on about my own deal.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started cowboying?
Oh, I was probably, I don't know. I mean, my dad, I don't been in it my whole life, really. I guess probably. I remember being in first or second grade, probably first grade or second grade, and my dad coming into the school and pulling me out at like 2 o'clock because some yearlings ran off and he needed help to gather them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I've
so
had
I
that
don't know.
happen.
I had to be like first or second grade, or he was gathering bulls or something happened and he would come in after lunch and pull me out at 1 o'clock and we would go gather crap all afternoon.
Yeah. So yeah, it was part of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, for sure. It was just get in the truck. Here's your boots. Here's your, here's your whatever, and your horse in the trailer. Let's go.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't recall a whole lot of times where I got pulled out of school to go, but I remember missing a lot of
Yeah.
days of school to to whether it is to go like to go move cows or
Right. Yeah.
something. Got to get them off a government permit or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there was always something. But we usually plan that out ahead of time. But there were a few times where I had to go do something, some sort of wreck, had to go catch a horse and.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was lots of times where I'd be in there, and there was 3 or 4 of us kids in that class that, dads were all the same type of dad. Worked cows, worked on a ranch, and you could hear Spurs coming down the hallway. We'd all look together like, all right, whose dad's fixing to step in the door to pull us out of here?
Yeah,
It was
that's
just
for sure.
like Russian roulette. All right, who is?
Now, were you? I'm trying to remember. I think it was you that was saying you did you worked on some places down by the border, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I went to the Diamond A Gray in May of 15, I believe, and I spent
Mm-hmm.
May, June, August. I think I did 6 to 8 months, maybe more than that down there, and that was pretty wild, pretty wild.
Yeah. What about it was
Well,
because that's a pretty good jaunt over from the Throckmorton area to down to that part of the world.
yeah, I was trying to think where I was living at before we went down there. I guess we had moved back to Throckmorton to the place I was raised at there, and it was fun. We moved out there, and I knew that place is uh, ashore a cowboy outfit. We pulled a
Mm-hmm.
wagon, rode pretty rank horses, not nothing horrible, but thank the Lord that I got some decent horses when I got down there. But it was fun. We dang sure lived how it was a long time ago. But the illegals, man, the illegals are horrible, and I feel for them folks to have like own country down there because they're horrible. They're bad. They'll come in and just take whatever they can get their hands on, food wise or anything wise, take it and leave.
Oh, I bet. 'Cause they're just starving and thirsting to death by the time they make it up that far. So yeah, it's
That where we lived, it's in that place is down on the border, and it's from my house to Mexico was probably, I'm gonna say, 10 miles maybe.
mm-hmm.
So our boundary fence was the minority fence down there. They literally come out of Mexico onto us. It was. There's some pretty good stories about that place. I can tell on that place. It's fun, wild, and reckless. From my house to town was
Yeah. did you have a bunch of people like what like did you ever see any of them like get arrested and shit coming through there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I used to call them. We used to call Border Patrol on them whenever they'd come to the house. Or was
What
one.
was well, I mean, just like I guess like what walk us through one of those scenarios when you'd run across them or they'd show up.
Well, one day I was outside feeding horses, and it's getting about it's probably about an hour and a half for dark.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of cur dogs running around. I was out feeding horses, and my wife was standing up on the front porch, and the dogs went to raising hell, man. I'm talking like getting after it. Well, I just figured they had a cow or something bayed, 100 yards, 200 yards from the house. So I look up, and it's this guy in a solid black shirt, black pants, black boots, black face mask, black backpack walking towards the house.
Just the works, huh?
Yeah. I mean, like
El Guapo himself.
Yeah, and he's limping. And I was like, oh, crap. So we kept pistols hid all over that camp for this reason. So I run in the hay barn, and I had a 40 stuck off in the side of the bucket, and I grabbed that 40 because you never know, And I run out there, and I start talking to him in Spanish, and he told me that he needed some help and yada, yada, yada. Well, I told him at first, no, just go on, get out of here. So he walked off about 100 yards from the house, and he stopped and he came back. And he was like, all right. He said in Spanish, I'll just go ahead and let you call Border Patrol, but I'm going to give you everything in my backpack you can have. And he pulls out like liquid Advil, penicillin, all this stuff, needles, syringes. And what happened is he had hurt his knee, so he was wanting to go home. He was hurt. That was his whole reasoning for even coming out to the house. And he has a lighter, and he like shows me the lighter has a flame. Like I've never seen a lighter before. I don't know what he was doing that for, but and he pulls out a cell phone, and he takes the battery out of it, and he pulls the SIM card out of it. And he takes a SIM card and puts it between his ass cheeks. If I'm lying, I'm dying. That's where he puts the SIM card.
Huh.
He crunched his phone up and threw it underneath a bush at my house. Well, meanwhile, these dogs are literally trying to pull him and his backpack through the fence. So I'm trying to whip dogs off of him. I mean, I feel bad. At the same time, I don't feel bad, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I called Border Patrol. They come get him. Long story short, the Border Patrol takes him and hauls him back. They come back, tell me what all happened. Apparently, he is what they call a scout. He was living up in the mountains, and he was scouting. And whenever like Border Patrol was gone, that's where he would radio down it and send, all right, they're gone from this area, come through. And they were hauling dope, hauling pot, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, through there.
Huh.
And he had hurt his knee down at a house, an abandoned camp behind my camp, and was needing to get back to Mexico or needing me to help him with something. I don't really know, but that's that's one of the stories. That's what happened. Like I said, that happened a lot. We had it happened probably 3 times a month.
Jeez. Yeah,
that was in 2015 or 16. Can you imagine now? The border's wide open.
Man. Yeah, I mean it was it was pretty bad back like you said, it was pretty bad back then. And yeah, I can't imagine now. It's rough.
I feel bad for those people that have houses and ranches and all that down there on the border, man, because they're just coming in, and like I have people on my Facebook and people that I know that I talk to here and there, and there's some families that were on those ranches for 10 or 15 years, and some things happened and they packed up and moved.
Oh yeah. There was a guy we've been trying to coordinate it, get him on and he ranches down in like southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, and
Who's
yeah,
that?
it's I probably better not say yet, but I'll tell you when we get done. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be a big deal, but
No,
just
sure.
in case, we're still trying to
Yeah.
get it all set up. But I'm sure you'd know him, know who he is. But that's I wonder. Like I've never heard anything. But you never hear anything about the Canadian border. It's always
No,
the
always
damn
Mexico.
always the damn Mexicans every time.
Yeah.
Ever since the old days, it was always the Mexican bandits.
Yeah.
Like you never hear of any Canadian bandits.
No, speaking of that, that kind of reminds me of a story I was told when I was down there. So on that ranch down there, that's a freaking awesome ranch, and I encourage anybody that wants to go punch cows to go down there and live on a wagon for a spring or a fall and take it in, because Curly Bill lived down there. Geronimo surrendered down there on that ranch. Like, it is awesome. But there's a story that some guys that lived down there, and I don't know if it was Curly Bill and all them or not, but they went across Mexico and stole some steers and brought them back, and they kept losing steers. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't find no horse tracks or nothing. And come to find out, it was a Mexican riding a bull across and gathering his steers and driving them back to Mexico. That's why they couldn't find horse tracks.
It's shit like that why a wall will never work.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is shit like that was why a wall. The Mexicans are way too good at being bandits.
Exactly.
It is in our blood to be sneaky and cross boundaries. So like you'll never stop the illegals. Like doesn't mean you don't try, but like it's just shit like that shows you why like something just as simple as a wall will never work. Like there's always a way around it.
They wear carpet on their feet to mop their tracks out, or they'll wear cow hoofs on their shoes to make cow tracks. They do that. It's crazy, man.
That's funny. It's pretty fucking gangster to just ride a bull and go steal a bunch of steers.
Yeah,
and
that's why I wouldn't even said it, but it's badass. Like, that guy was fucking genius. He was ahead of his time by 50 years.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, like they're gonna be rustling cattle by drone before we know it. Like they're just somebody's gonna be a half a world away.
Yeah, gathering cows.
Just rustling cows. They're just gonna have a bunch of yokels waiting for them with a trailer, and they're just gonna buzz them right up there with a drone.
Yep, for sure. That was one story that I was told by an older gentleman down there that knew what he was talking about, because he's been down there his whole life, and he was like, no, that's the story I've always heard, and it stuck in my head because that's badass. Like, that is thinking.
That's awesome. I mean, well, and like you just look at some of the shit that they come up with in prison. Like that is ingenuity that is like unparalleled. It's and these are not the smartest of people, but man, they can figure some shit out when they have to. It's wild, like the MacGyver shit that they can come up with in prison.
Sure. Yeah,
or just being poor in general. Like that's one thing. Like look at any hillbilly or redneck mechanic in particular. They those are some of the best like YouTube videos. Like if you have to YouTube something on mechanicking, the redneck videos are always the best because you can't hardly understand them, and they have the most fucked up way to fix their vehicle, but it works. Like it works somehow.
Baling wire, and JB Weld will go a long ways.
Yeah, or it'd be some big fat dude wearing a wife beater, and he will have the most genius way to break something loose that requires almost no effort because he's a big fat lazy fuck, and he doesn't want to work that hard, and he figured out an easy way to do it.
Yep, just hit it with a hammer 4 times, and it'll come loose. Like, what?
Right. Yeah, and then Yeah, then you have like the Mexican mechanic, and it's all out in the open, and
Yeah.
dude, like you'll walk up and there's no creeper. It's just you'll see a big brown belly sticking out from from underneath the
Maybe,
and
maybe,
they
maybe I,
and, yeah, they'll have the weirdest contraptions
oh yeah.
built, but it
Oh my
works. It
oh
works.
my uncle built this 10 years ago, dude. It works so good.
Yeah, it'll just be like, now that's what,
Yeah.
huh?
It's
And
set in
then
green room.
you watch them work, and you're like, huh. Well, I'd have never figured anything like that out before.
For
That's
sure.
pretty. I don't know. It's just like watching some of those old Buckaroo types,
Mm.
that still do shit like the real old traditional way, and you're just like, huh, that I would have never thought to do anything like that. Like like the first time you see that the long rope used to lay one down, and you're just like, huh. Well, that makes a lot of sense now. Why you're packing an extra,
Yeah,
50 foot
yeah,
of rope?
exactly. When I got 28 foot tied straight to the horn, I'm
Yeah,
like,
and you see one of the boys just fold them up real nice with all that extra rope, and you're like, huh. And he didn't even have to break a sweat. You're like that.
yeah,
All right. Well, I get it now. I get a little
yeah,
bit what that's for.
for sure.
And yeah, it's just funny how people find that stuff out. It's I don't know, some of those loops those Buckaroo types throw. You're just like, can you imagine the first guy to to figure that out? It's crazy watching some of that shit, but that's
Oh
all
yeah.
they had to do. Like that
Oh
was your
yeah.
job, was take care of cows all day every day. There was no vacation. There was there was no
No.
ch- there was no church because it was you and Indians. That was it.
Yep.
Crazy. So
Yep.
yeah, if you had the Indians pacified, all you had to do was rope, and so you
Yep.
got really good at roping.
Yeah, that's all there was to do.
Crazier time. But also, if you broke your leg, there's a good chance that if they didn't cut it off, you would die. And then
Speaking
there's
of off, did you see that on that last thing? We
oh
were talking.
fuck, yeah,
Whew,
yeah,
Lord, I'd have had
uh,
to. I'd have had to have more whiskey.
oh man, yeah. So don't watch 1883 with your children. It's probably
No.
not a kids show. Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, that was
But
right.
that's how it was. Like
Yep.
man, we're we are very very fortunate to be
For
living in the
sure.
time that we are. Like one of my biggest problems in the last month was internet.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, rewind even 50 years to where I am right now, and shit was a lot harder. Rewind 50 years before that, and it was harder still. And like,
I.
that's pretty.
Yeah, 50 years ago would have been way. I remember whenever texting first came about.
Yeah.
Like now,
Yeah.
you do everything through text.
Oh, I know. It's like people. I remember like people waiting at home for a phone call. Like you knew, like you were scheduling a phone call,
Right.
and and now like people like go out of their way to not answer the phone.
Oh yeah, just text. I respond better. Like no, if I want to talk to you, I'm gonna call you.
Yeah, I know. Most of the time I can get by with a text, but at some point I get tired of typing. And I was like, I'm just gonna call you.
Yeah.
I don't do the FaceTime stuff, and I don't. I'm not a big phone talker, but there's times when it's needed. But yeah,
If
it's
if
funny how
if,
that's flip flopped.
if we
Used to
need to
wait
have a
around.
if we need to have a conversation, we can have a conversation on the phone. If you just want to
Yeah,
bullshit, we can text.
right. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same camp. But yeah, it's funny how I used to wait by the phone for somebody to call. Now now you're just like, ah. I'm
Yeah.
the same way too. But if I don't want to talk to somebody, it's like I got to. It's like you just dragging your feet before you finally call them back. But
Sure.
yeah, it's wild, but yeah, you look back just not that long ago, and shit was a lot harder. So
Well, you
it's been
know,
a
like,
yeah.
go ahead.
I say it's just it's a pretty good time to be alive. As crazy as the world
Sure.
is, it's a pretty good time to be alive.
Well, that goes back to talking about when I was living down there on the border. We didn't have phone service. We had a house
Mm.
phone, and we had satellite phone and a pickup at the wagon. And we didn't have. I mean, there was no cell phone service. There was hardly any internet. Like them folks down there live like it's still 50, 60, 70 years ago. I mean, it really is. And I don't know how it is today. I will say that. It's 2022 now. That was in 2015. I know that's not that many years, but when I went down there was no phone service. There was no nothing. It was like living in the 1800s again, it felt like, but with a few better things. I mean, it was wild country.
Yeah, it's there you know there's still some places like that out. I mean, it was where I was in Montana was it was pretty. It was decent for the most part. You could but it was the weirdest thing. I swear to God, I was sitting in the tractor waiting on cows to come up to feed, and I had 4 bars of service. I was talking with my buddy Clint, and I went from 4 bars of service to a drop call, and I never even fucking moved.
Oh, yeah.
And and but it was it was 30, 35 miles to town, but it'd take you an hour.
Well, that's,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Well, from
yeah.
that camp that we lived on down there, and I don't think I've said this, but it was from my house to Deming, New Mexico was about 130 miles.
Ooh, yeah, that's a
And
pretty.
that was the closest gas station.
Oh,
Not just town. That was the closest gas station because Hachita, well, I guess you could turn at Hachita and go to Animas and get fuel, but it was out of your way if you were going to get groceries.
mm,
It was probably closer, but when you left my house, you run straight to Hachita from Hachita to I-10. I think it's 10, yeah, and then it went off into Deming.
huh? Yeah, it's you get that way when you get out into like the middle part of Nevada,
Yeah.
middle and eastern part of Nevada. Man, it's pretty desolate.
I
It's
had
a
never
long ways to everywhere.
I had never been north of Colorado, and we went up to Cheyenne, Wyoming this past summer we went to Archer, Wyoming to the Ironman Ranch Bronc ride, and I went with a buddy of mine. He was riding in it. That's
Mhm.
really cool. That's really cool country. It really is. It's a lot flatter there around Cheyenne and Archer than I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah. Wyoming's it's. I mean, it's like Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado. All three of them. Like you get east of the Rockies, and it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
And but it's yeah. I like Wyoming a lot. It's windy. You gotta
It was a
gotta
good
be
time.
able. Yeah, good people up in Wyoming. I like it's you gotta be tough to live there though. That's why nobody lives there.
Yeah, I can imagine that wind blow you every day. Negative.
Oh shit. Yeah, they Cheyenne, Wyoming is the windiest average average wind speeds windiest city in the U.S. It's average wind speed of like 19.2 mile an hour or some shit like that.
Wow.
Any given time, 20 mile an hour winds. It's just, yep, it's windy as shit right there.
Oh, I stayed 4 nights in a teepee down there, and it never quit blowing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just what it does. That's uh, that I-80 corridor through Wyoming. Like you
Yeah.
get back in in like that Rock Springs area, and you see those snow fences that are like mile 2 miles back, and you're just like fuck you know that snow's got to be terrible rolling through there in the winter.
Yeah.
I've never been.
It only took me about a day and a half to figure out what those fences were.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I had to stop and ask. There was a guy that lives out in Nevada now, and he had kind of been around Midland, Odessa area where I'm kind of south of, and I knew of him. And anyways, I got up there and finally I had to ask him, like, "Hey, what are these random fences?" And he was like, "Oh, that's snow fence things." And I was like, "Oh, I had no idea. I'm from Texas. I don't have a clue."
Yeah, it's insane. You get like and some like I knew what they were, but then you get in there through that I-80 corridor and like I said, they're like 2 miles back from the highway,
Yeah,
and you're just like shit. That I've seen some of those drifts through there. I've never. I hit a little bit of snow pulling a trailer one time. I was coming through there at night, and it was a little, the road was a little greasy. It wasn't terrible. It was slow going. Uh, but I've seen so many videos of just like, 50, 60 car pileups. And it's all slow motion too, because at once the first, two or three collide, everybody's trying to slow down, but it's just a sheet of ice. So it's just
yeah,
like,
you're just gliding into them.
yeah. And you're just like watching, you're seeing somebody from the ditch just video and it, just laughing, like, oh, there it goes, here comes another one. And it's like oh, what's that old man bar game, where you have the little disc that you slide, fuck, can't, I don't,
Shuffleboard?
shuffleboard. Yeah, it just looks like shuffleboard out there when
Yeah.
when everybody's trying to get shut down. They're just like bumper cars, shuffleboard.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. But there's a reason why those snow fences start all the way back. Just yeah, it's it's wild. And it's a pretty dry part of the country too. But when it snows, you don't get the snow without the wind. Had a question here in the chat. And it's what was the nearest town from that ranch on the border? It was near. Oh, hey, you answered that one. How far? You were right on the border. What was like the nearest Mexican town?
Oh, I'm not 100% sure. I know that I don't know if this helps their question or not, but right, like we were camped in a big flat, and we were right at Antelope Wells was the port of entry from where I was at, was called Antelope Wells.
Okay.
I don't know what, I'd have to go back and look at some pictures because I took pictures of a road sign down there at the border that said what town. It was like probably 40 miles to the closest town in New Mexico, but I don't know what it was. I had to go back and look.
Oh, okay. I was to say we got when we get our Mexican steers in the spring, I think they usually cross at Santa Teresa.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where. I know Columbus is where they crossed a bunch, and that was fairly close to Columbus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's usually where the what the paperwork says, Santa Teresa. But
Yeah.
I'd like to go down there and watch them work down there on the border for week or so, just to see.
I know a guy that lives over there around Eagle Pass, and he's a inspector, and sends me them Snapchat videos of them crossing cattle out of Mexico over to them. They have to inspect them and scratch them for fever ticks and all that, and they accept them or they turn them back, and it's a workhouse.
Yeah, it looks like it. Like I said, I'd like to go down there and just just see what it's about for like a week or so.
Right.
Because there's a lot of cattle that come up from that area. I mean, and I can imagine what they used to look like, but just like kind of everywhere else, the genetics
Right.
have really really got a lot better. So like they're pretty good cattle for the most part. I mean, they're rail thin by the time they get up to us, but they've also everything that was really sick has pretty much died by then. So they're pretty bomb proof by the time we get them.
If we have the wheat and we have the country for them, we'll get a couple of truckloads a year, but not as many as most folks, you know. It's dry out here.
Yeah, we well they just run a ton of them over in California on that tall grass. So guy outfit that I work for, they own a lot of land over there in California, and so they I don't know, we've got a little bit of moisture this year, so I'm not sure how the grass will be over there, but I imagine we'll probably get some. It's hard to tell. This this Russia-Ukraine deal has a possibility to just upset the apple cart. You know, if with all of these trade deals and shit that we've got ourselves into over the centuries, it's it's weird. It's weird. It's hard to say whether a war in Ukraine will affect the cross-border cattle trade between U.S. and Mexico, but down the line, it could not, whether probably not directly, but indirectly it could, and it's just weird how all that works. But I would assume with the moisture we've got, we'll probably get some Mexican steers again, but who knows?
Yeah, we haven't had much rain in probably 6 to 8 months. Like it's pretty dry down here.
Yeah. What's the temperament with the ranchers down in your part of the world with this meat packer deal? Are they are they hollering for the negotiated cash trade, or what's their thinking?
I think there's lots of mixed emotions.
Yeah.
But I think everybody's on the same page, pretty much of what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah, are they pushing for the 50-14 RCAF type plan, or what's or are they just like wanting something done?
Just something. I mean, I really, it's more or less just something. Like we just need something.
Yeah, and that's a bad sentiment to have, because that usually doesn't work out well for us.
No, it's not going to. I mean, that's the thing. But what do you do? I mean,
Yeah. I know. It's one of those things where you're just like, I don't know. It's the government's gonna fuck it up 6 ways from Sunday.
Oh yeah, but like I said, what do you do? I mean,
right, but you kind of have to have them, because I mean, like, it's not we're not living in libertarian fantasy land where the government only does what it's allowed to do. No, we live in the real world where the government does whatever the hell it wants to, and
exactly.
Hopefully we can steer it a little bit in our direction, but most likely probably not. And I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know. I think it's all setting up where it's probably going to be a tough 2, 3, 4, 10 years coming up. I think things got really good and way too good, and
they went fast.
Yep. But I think you're, and I hate to say it because I love America, but I think you're seeing the end of the American empire. Like this little deal with Russia, like big takeaway from it is like we can't get involved over there. Like there's a lot of people that want us to really get involved, but like we literally can't. There is the threat of nuclear war. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I feel bad for Ukraine, but you're gonna have to figure that one out, guys, because we don't have the money, we don't, and there's just like we can't we can't we can't back them up on that, and Russia knows it, and I don't know. I think you're seeing us. It's all we're gonna have to come back down towards reality here on the world stage, and that's not gonna be an easy process. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on that whole deal. But it's that it's weird how an event like that all the way on the other side of the world could just set off a chain of reactions. Yeah, it's happened before, and it looks like it's about to happen again. So I don't know.
I don't really know. I don't know. I think I hit mute on accident. I didn't mean to. I don't exactly know what to think. I really don't. I don't. I mean,
yeah, it's a weird time. I just know it's one where like you gotta walk very carefully because there's also the possibility that Putin is just crazy and like I've never thought of him as crazy before. I've thought of him as a very calculated, very just insanely smart guy, but I never thought of him as like a loose cannon. and now I'm not so sure.
No, I don't know what he's like. I said, every man is their own kind of man, but I didn't see that happening.
I guess a better way to put it, I always knew he's dangerous, but I never thought of him as a loose cannon.
No.
And now, yeah, like that's kind of a loose cannon move, just going balls out into Ukraine. But I don't know. It's a weird, it's tense situation, but it's I don't know. It's just kind of after looking back through history, just like everything kind of lines up to where I think not going to say we're gonna take a back seat on the world stage. I just don't think we're gonna be able to push people around like we have been able to for a while. And
I agree.
And that's probably a good thing because it'll save us some money in the long run.
Right. No, I agree on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see that anything's gonna change until there's a new administration on the energy side of things. But man, that ought to be a big wake up call that like, hey, we still need to pump our own oil.
Oh yeah.
Like that ought to be a big that whole thing could have been averted if we could have just started pumping as cheap a natural gas as we could over to Germany. That would have called Russia's bluff, and they would have had to back down or at least play a little bit nicer.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't have went full force.
But the fact that we had nothing to counter with on that end. I mean that the sanctions that they put on her, that I don't know. It's we also we're living in social media culture where shit happens so fast it seems like, but they're still only a week into this invasion. Like people forget wars last for years. So like this thing just started.
Yeah, how long is it going to go? We don't know. I don't know. It could go.
Yeah, like even like the Blitzkrieg of World War II, they were talking about how fast they took over Poland. That was still 2 weeks that it took to take over Poland. So
right.
They're not even they're not 2 weeks in yet. So it's I don't know. It's fascinating to watch. It's scary. It's fascinating though.
That it is.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what's going to happen whenever I have a little girl when she's 40. What's going to happen when she's 60? Is the world even going to be here?
I know it. It's well, I'm reading a book on Charlie Goodnight, and and there's a pretty good section there, like when they came back from the Civil War, because when that all started, Texas was still very much a frontier area. You had
Right.
the coast, but I mean Fort Worth was a literal fort at the time.
Yeah.
And and then yeah, so like when the men all went to war, and half of those guys that were running cattle went to war, and they come back and there are just wild cattle everywhere, and they're trying to figure out whose was who.
What? Just catch what you can.
Yeah, and then you had like the Texas Rangers got dismantled, and then they bring in the Texas State Police, which is a bunch of like Union loyalists during Reconstruction, and so like a bunch of former big cattle raisers lost a big chunk of their herd just from thieves and bandits. And
Oh yeah. I mean, nobody's there to protect them.
yeah, it's wild. And so I always wonder something like that, like shit goes haywire with the people. The cattle will, if they get out, they'll find a way. They'll find feed somewhere until they can't. They'll die, or they'll just they'll die out there. But they'll do what cows always do. They'll be cows, and
They'll get by.
and eventually somebody will have to go figure out all that mess if anything did go haywire. I always it always kind of makes you wonder all this technology stuff, like I'm still trying to figure out cryptocurrency and what I'm starting to see some of the value behind it, but also like what happens if the internet just goes down one day, like worldwide. The internet just shuts off. Well, hey,
This conversation.
yeah, I've got a flash drive that says I've got 3 billion Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, nothing works to read that. So, do you got some cash?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just I don't know. Maybe I need to listen to some more upbeat podcasts or something. 'Cause that shit gets depressing after a while.
Oh yeah.
You're just like,
It wears me out. I'll talk about it, but at the same time, I'm like, God, don't even.
yeah. And then you get you like Rogan will get somebody like that Randall Carlson on that talks about when meteors hit the earth and what that entailed, and you're just like, holy shit, man, that could happen too. So
Yeah,
like,
holy shit, Batman, here we go.
yeah. So you're saying, let's put on some music and go look at cows. That's that makes, yeah. It's
yeah, been there.
It's funny how you get to just thinking about that shit when you're, especially like when you get in like the like those days where it's just like routine stuff. Like right now we're pretty slow, and so it's just you can kind of shut your brain off, or not even shut it off, but you don't. You're just like on autopilot. You just kind of cruise through your stuff, and so yeah, and your mind just wanders.
Yeah. Oh yeah, your mind wanders into everything in the world. Wonder if this, wonder if that. Well, hell.
Yeah, exactly. It's you can go down some rabbit holes pretty quick, but
Dang right.
Well, let's see. We're right about an hour. Let's we'll call that for the main feed, and we'll tell a few tall tales on the Patreon feed. But you got anything you want to promote before we sign off? Any or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna tell a few more stories on the Patreon. You can sign up patreon.com/burningdaylight. Get you some bonus content and some other cool stuff over there. So check that out and move your ass.